All right, today we're diving into an idea that is genuinely mind-bending, the ethics of the extended mind. And trust me, this is a concept that might just completely change how you think about, well, thinking. So, let me just ask you this straight up. That smartphone you're probably holding, or is at least within arm's reach, is it just a tool you use, or could it literally be a part of your mind? It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, I know, but this isn't just some hypothetical game. It's actually one of the most urgent philosophical questions we face right now. And to really get why this question is so important, we have to go back to a really simple thought experiment, the one that basically kicked off this entire debate. It all starts with a guy named Otto and his simple notebook. So, meet Otto. Otto is living with a mild form of dementia, so his biological memory isn't always reliable. To get around this, he carries a notebook with him absolutely everywhere. It's filled with all the crucial information he needs to get through his day. But here's the key. For Otto, this notebook isn't just a backup. It basically is his memory. Okay, so let's say Otto decides he wants to visit the Museum of Modern Art. He doesn't even try to remember the address from inside his head. His instinct, his automatic reaction, is to pull out the notebook, look up MoMA, and read that it's on 53rd Street. He trusts it, completely and without hesitation, and he acts on it. And it's that seamless, automatic process that leads to a pretty radical conclusion. And here it is. This is the extended mind hypothesis. The argument goes like this. Otto's notebook isn't just a tool that helps his mind. It's an actual constitutive part of his mind. His belief about where MoMA is doesn't just exist in his brain. It exists in this combined system of Otto plus notebook. The notebook, for all practical purposes, is part of his cognitive machinery. So, what's the rule here? Well, it's called the parity principle, and it basically says, look, forget about whether something is made of neurons or paper. The real question is, what does it do? If an external thing, like a notebook, functions in the exact same way as a process inside your brain, then we should just go ahead and call it part of that cognitive process. Since Otto's notebook functions like memory, the theory says it is memory. Simple as that. Now, I know, this might all seem like a pretty abstract philosophical game, but it stops being a game the second you swap out Otto's paper notebook for our smartphones, our cloud accounts, our AI assistants. Because if our minds really do extend out into these technologies, that means they become vulnerable in ways we've never had to think about before.
And if we accept this premise, that our minds can stretch into our devices, three huge ethical red flags just pop right up. We're talking about serious threats to our mental privacy, the scary potential for mental manipulation, and a slow erosion of our personal agency.
So let's take privacy first. For someone to read Otto's notebook, they'd have to physically steal it from him. It's a very local, small-scale risk, right? But what happens when our notebook is a server farm in another country? All of a sudden, our thoughts, our memories, our beliefs, they could be accessed by corporations, by hackers, by governments, from literally anywhere. The whole idea that you have privileged private access to your own mind just begins to fall apart. Okay, next up is manipulation. And this is where it gets a little creepy. Imagine someone doesn't steal Otto's notebook. Instead, they just sneakily change one little entry, switching MoMA's address from 53rd Street to 43rd. The next time Otto consults his memory, his belief is changed. Just like that, instantly, secretly. He doesn't just get bad directions. His actual belief about the world has been altered without him ever knowing. Now, just imagine that same vulnerability applied to your hacked cloud account. And finally, we have to talk about our agency, our free will. As our AI extenders get smarter and smarter at predicting what we want, they could easily start shaping what we want. Say you decide you're going to start a new diet, but your AI assistant, which has been trained on years of your behavior, keeps pushing pizza deals and reminding you about your favorite restaurants. By constantly nudging you back towards old habits, or maybe towards its own corporate sponsor's goals, this technology could quietly undermine your very ability to make your own choices. Of course, not everyone buys into this idea that a notebook or a smartphone can literally be part of your mind. There's a very powerful counter-argument at the very center of this whole debate. The entire conflict really just boils down to this one distinction. Is the notebook a constitutive part of Otto's mind, a single extended system, or is it just a tool that's really tightly coupled to his mind, which is still located safely inside his skull? The whole thing hangs on that difference between being part of something and just being connected to it. So critics say that believers in the extended mind are making a mistake, and they even have a name for it: the coupling constitution fallacy. They argue that it's a huge error to assume that just because two things interact closely, they become one thing. I mean, just because a carpenter is deeply coupled with her hammer all day long doesn't mean the hammer becomes part of her arm, right? It's an essential tool, for sure, but it's not a component of her.
But the story doesn't end there. The debate kept going. And in response to really strong criticisms, like the coupling fallacy, the theory itself started to evolve. And this led to what people now call a second wave of thinking about the extended mind.
You see, this second wave of thinkers had a bit of an epiphany. They realized that arguing over whether a notebook is exactly like a brain was maybe the wrong way to look at it. I mean, think about it. Why would we even want a tool that's just a clunky copy of what our brain already does? So the new approach goes beyond just looking for similarities and focuses on something way more interesting: integration.
And this shift led to a whole new guiding idea, the complementarity principle. This replaces that old parity principle. So the question is no longer, does my phone work like my brain's memory? The new question is, do my phone and my brain integrate to form a brand new hybrid system that can do things neither one could do alone? Think about using a GPS app. It's not just storing a map. It's pulling in live traffic data, processing it, and recalculating your route on the fly. You and the app have become a new hybrid navigation system, one that's way more powerful than you or the phone by itself.
And that brings us right back to you. Because as our technology gets smarter, and more importantly, more seamlessly woven into the fabric of how we think and live, that line between the person using the tool and the tool itself gets incredibly blurry. And so, we're left with this one final, pretty unsettling question. Where exactly do you end, and where does it begin?